A car out of one. I pray this devil die and get every evil thing the Lord got to give. And listen, I know you look at us in the state we in right now. Come here, SHALAM. Come here, SHALAM. I know you look at us in the state we in right now. Black people on drugs, and we suffering and dying. And I know it seems like you can do whatever you want to this people. I know it seems like this, but the time for glorifying yourself is soon at an end.
So we're going to go inside this book and we're going to give you some truths here. We're going to give you a little bit of history. We're going to actually teach you something, because our people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. You got the white man's knowledge. A lot of good that's done you so far, huh? I mean, you lost Harlem. You can't even support your own businesses, huh? That's why Sylvia's is owned by the damn Koreans. Now the soul food owned by the Koreans. You don't own one business on this strip. I thought this was Harlem. Is it not? What happened? What happened? You don't understand the laws of the Bible. Start from where it's highlighted.
The two Babylons, the festival of bone, are innumerable.
That's what you need to understand. Rome had many festivals, because Rome, before the Roman Catholic Church, was pagan. Pagans will worship a rock. Pagans will worship a statue. Pagans will worship the stars and not the Creator which created them, which is what the Israelites were supposed to know all along. But you want to follow everybody else. And that's why you're destroyed, because you don't know a damn thing about where you come from. Read.
But 5 of the most important may be singled out for elucidation. Christmas Day.
Christmas Day. This is where this originated from. Because before Christmas, it was known as the Feast of Saturnalia. This was a feast onto Saturn. Before then, it went all the way back to Babylon. Keep reading.
Lady Day, Easter, the nativity of St. John's, and the feast of the Assumption. Each and all of these can be proved to be Babylonian.
Every single one of these can go back to Babylonian customs. That's what you don't understand. From Christmas on down to Easter. Easter comes from a Babylonian god called Ishtar. It was fertility. That's what it has to do with rabbits and eggs. Because rabbits during the springtime like to hump and make babies. Live babies, not eggs. But what do you know? What do you know? You're high in the ghetto. What do you know? The white man came, like the cat brought out earlier, put heroin in the 70s and 60s. After that, what happened? Then they like to put crack in the neighborhood when that didn't wipe you out. Now you got weed everywhere about to be legalized. It's disgusting, man. Keep reading.
There is not a word in the scriptures about the precise date of his birth.
There is nowhere in the scriptures where it says that Christ was born on December the 25th. Where's that in the Bible? Show me. Show me. I'll wait all day and night. I'll be out here till I'm dead, because it'll never happen. It says the scriptures doesn't name directly as the time when he was born. Read.
Or the time of the year when he was born. His birth took place. It could not have been on the 25th.
It could not have been on the 25th of December. Why not? Because some people actually read the Bible. And when you read the Bible, you're going to find out he's going to quote something from a passage. Read.
At the time that the angel announced his birth to the shepherds of Bethlehem, they were feeding their flocks by night in the open fields.
Let me explain something to you, which is what he's going to explain. Shepherds do not go in the field of ancient Palestine in the middle of the winter at night. What are they doing? Everybody else is inside. Why is the shepherds outside? Keep reading.
Now, no doubt, the climate of Palestine is not so severe as the climate of this country. But even there, though the heat of the day be considerable.
Now we understand this is in the so-called Middle East. We understand that. We understand that the heat could be considerable. But what are deserts like at night? Let's find out.
The cold of the night from December to February is very piercing, and it was not the custom for the shepherds of Judea to watch their flocks in their open fields later than about the end of October.
So what are they doing in the field in the middle of winter? Because you understand that Christ was born closer towards the spring. So that's strike one. What are you doing celebrating on the 25th? Please elaborate. Because you follow your oppressor. That's who you follow. Matter of fact, let me hold this. Let's go back in the Bible for a second. Give me Proverbs 3 and 31. Don't you know the Bible is against following your oppressor? You didn't know that? No, because this image right here taught you to love your oppressor. Because if Jesus is white, how could the white man be the devil? We should forgive Darren Wilson, shouldn't we? That's what we should do. Well, you know what? Tell the white man to forgive Osama bin Laden. Oh wait, they killed him, didn't they?
Yeah.
They didn't show mercy to him. Tell the white man to go over there and forgive Saddam Hussein. Oh wait, they killed him too. And then brought democracy to the Middle East. Tell the white man to forget 9/11. No, they say 9/11 never forget. But why do you have to bring up slavery? That was so long ago. Can't we all just get along? Can't we all do that? Can't we rectify this situation somehow? I'll show you how we can rectify it. How about this? How about you give up all this land back to the North American Indians? You come and fill our plantations and have your family work for us for the next 400 years. You can go in the ghettos and die, and we'll be uplifted and become rich. How does that sound? Isn't that fair? I think that's called justice. And you know what? That's what the Lord is going to do. You don't know that's in the Bible? You don't know that? Read what you got.
Proverbs chapter 3 verse 31. Envy thou not the oppressor.
Envy thou not the oppressor. That means you sisters need to stop dyeing your hair blonde. Stop making India one of the richest nations on the planet. Their third largest export is hair. They're shaving 5-year-old little girls' heads. You gotta see if they were my people, I'd almost be heartbroken. They got this one little teardrop coming down. And the damn, you guys should have seen the documentary. Their third largest export is hair. Because you want to look like your oppressor. And your leaders want you to look like their oppressor. Don't you know Farrakhan is supposed to be pro-black? You know what he said? Farrakhan said, don't you want to have nice straight hair? He says that having kinky coiled hair is a curse. Meanwhile, when you go in the Bible, God has kinky hair, according to the vision that Daniel's seen. It said that Jesus Christ had hair like wool. That's what happens when you follow the culture of the Arabs. That's what happens when you want to become subservient to your oppressor. But what does the Bible say? Read it from the top.
Envy thou not the oppressor.
Envy thou not the oppressor. You got T.I.'s wife, Tiny, who just got implants in her eyes to have blue eyes permanently. Don't you know blonde hair and blue eyes is a curse according to the Bible? It is called leprosy. It is uncleanness. Read.
And choose none of his ways.
You better stop following Christmas. Y'all talking about boycotting Christmas now because of what happened with Mike Brown and Eric Garner. The I.S.U.P.K. has been boycotting Christmas since 1969. Where the hell have you been? It's about time you get up to speed. Grab a damn flyer. We've been boycotting Christmas. You know why? Not because another nation murdered us. Because it's in the Bible not to celebrate it, dummy. Where's December 25th in the Bible? Nowhere. Nowhere. But that's what happens when the white man becomes your God. Read it from the top.
Proverbs chapter 3 verse 31. Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways.
You better choose none of his ways. You better start sticking with your own people. You better find out your history. You better start celebrating once again like the Hanukkah, when we killed our enemies, when we killed the white man to get our land back, and leave this foolishness behind. Leave flying reindeers and little mythological elves alone.
Yes, right.
Let's get back into this history. This is what I want you to do. Yeah, read right here. Let's get into a little bit more proof. A little bit more proof about why Christ couldn't have been born in the winter. Read.
At the birth of Christ, every woman and child was to go to be taxed at the city whereto they belonged.
Because at the birth of Christ, they were traveling back to where David was from. David was from Bethlehem. This was the city of David. Because Christ is a descendant of David.
Right.
There's another lie. Some immaculate deception.
Right.
Like the Most High, you think the Most High breaks his own laws? So you mean to tell me that the Most High is against adultery?
Right.
But he's going to come impregnate a woman and then pass her off to another man? What the hell is wrong with you, man?
Right.
Let me ask you something. Where do babies come from? I'll tell you where mine came from.
Right.
I hope you know. Hope your parents had a talk with you about the damn birds and the bees. Let's use some common sense. Read what you got.
Mother's sons had long journeys, but the middle of the winter was not fitting for such a business.
Such a business trip, because you understand there was no cars, there was no planes, there was no trains. You had to get on foot or get a donkey, get a mule, get a camel, and travel a great distance for you to do these things. There was no time to be doing business like this in the middle of the winter. Read.
Especially for women with child and children to travel in.
So you're telling me that a pregnant woman's gonna make this trip in the middle of the winter?
Right.
Let's use some common sense. Keep reading.
Christ in the gospel prayed that your flight be not in the winter. If the winter...
Now this flight that it was talking about is because Christ prophesied the destruction of Jerusalem. Because we would not get our act together. That's why we had to flee into Africa. That's why our people fled, because they went to blend in with the other dark-skinned nations. In 70 AD, the Roman army surrounded Jerusalem, and Christ prophesied this in the book of Luke. And he turned around and said that an army is going to surround you, and that's what happened. For 4 years, they laid siege to the city. Those who were lucky enough escaped. Those who didn't were either sold into slavery, or they were starved to the point where they had to eat their own children. They were taking their damn sandals and boiling them and eating the leather. Keep reading.
If the winter was so bad a time to flee in, it seemed no fit time for shepherds to lie in the fields in, and women and children to travel in.
So now we understand that Christ was not born in the middle of the winter. How did this get in the church? Let's do a little bit more reading. Read the top.
Within the Christian church, no such festival as Christmas was ever heard.
No such festival was ever heard of in the Christian church before, I believe, the 3rd century. Read.
And that not till the 4th century was far advanced did it gain much observance. How then did the Romanish church fix the December, the 25th, as Christmas Day?
So, if that's the case, if that's the fact of the matter, where did this date come from? It came from a feast called Saturnalia. It came from a pagan feast which they celebrated, which was basically like an orgy. They got drunk, they had sex, they raped people. That's what Romans were about. Romans were about pleasure. They didn't give a damn about anything else. Keep reading.
Why thus, long before the 4th century, and long before the Christian era itself, a festival was celebrated among the heathen at the precise time of the year in honor of the birth of the son of the Babylonian queen of heaven.
Because that's where it went back to prior to then. It went back to Babylon. It went back to celebrating Nimrod. And it all trickled down because the white man is a culture thief. You don't understand that? We ruled the Dark Ages for over 1,000 years. You don't know that? While he was inside of a cave, finger painting and eating himself because he ate his own, we had thriving civilizations. The original Greeks were Japhetic. They weren't white. The original Jews are black. The white man calls himself a damn African. Come on now. Because he is a culture thief. Because nothing is of his own. Keep reading.
And it may fairly be presumed that in order to conciliate the heathens and to swell the number of the nominal adherents of Christianity, the same festivals was adopted by the Roman Church.
So this is exactly what they did. Before Christianity, before the Roman Catholic Church, the major religion of Rome was paganism. Right. So what they did was they decided to combine pagan beliefs, and then they would just throw Christ's name on top of it. So now we can unite the kingdom. That's how Sunday became the Sabbath, because that was the day that pagan Romans worshipped the sun. When Saturday, you look on a calendar, it goes Sunday to Saturday. You don't know it's the Roman calendar? Why does it start with Sunday if they say Monday is the first day of the week? Because Saturday is the last day of the week.
Giving it only the name of Christ, this tendency on the part of the Christians to meet paganism halfway.
And that's what they did. They decided to meet the pagans halfway. So now we can have a larger congregation. Now there can be less disputes over who's God. Now we can all get drunk and screw together. Drop down, keep reading.
Up.
Saturnalia is the feast of January. It's the worship of Saturn. This was during the time of the winter solstice. Just more sun worship. Keep reading.
Upright men strove to stem the tide, but in spite of all their efforts, the apostasy went on.
Because what they would do is there would be men that said, no, we're going to serve the Lord. Because what you don't understand is that the original Christians were black Jews. But the Catholic Church killed them until they said, we are the Catholic Church. Follow us. We are the true Christians. We are the followers of God. There were certain people who did not want to follow this. But Christianity was spread with the sword, just like Islam was. All these religions were spread with the sword. We're not out here killing nobody. We just came to present the information to you. We're giving you the other side of the coin. This is love. Love is to be out here in 30-degree weather. Freezing your damn behind off to wake up a damn people who don't give a damn about culture, don't care about their brother. When something does go wrong, this is what they want to do. They want to riot so they can get some Jordans. That's what they want to do. That's why we're out here. While the Christian church is nice and warm, nice and toasty, asking you for tithes and then saying the laws are done away with. Flip to the next couple of pages. I think it might be page 97. All right? Yeah, read right here. Good.
It was no mere astronomic festival then that the pagans celebrated at the winter solstice.
This is what they celebrated. They celebrated the winter solstice. Go ahead, Ken.
I'm going to cut you off. Once again, we're the Israelite School of UPK. We are not affiliated. We are not affiliated or associated with any false Hebrew Israelite group, so-called Israelite group out here. Not once can anybody has ever said that they ever punked UPK. Let that be known. It never happened. It never will happen. Why? Because we stand with the Most High. Now back to the brother's wonderful breakdown.
Yeah, give that man a hand right there. Ain't you read our disclaimer? It comes on in the beginning of every video. We are separate from everybody else. Just like we're supposed to be holy and separate and stay away from these holidays, which we're learning about right now, which come nothing, they just worshiping Satan. That's all it is. Keep reading.
That festival at Rome was called the Feast of Saturn, and the mode in which it was celebrated there showed whence it had been derived.
Showed from whence it had been derived. Because this is where it came from. But you know what they did? They put the name Christ right over it. So now you think you're actually worshiping something holy. But once again, you don't really. You don't want to learn nothing. You want to learn something. Grab a damn flyer. Actually get some knowledge. Learn what it really means to be a Hebrew Israelite. Don't just call yourself one. The Christians call themselves Christians. They don't follow Christ. That's why I wouldn't call myself a Christian today by the modern sense of what it means. Because the scripture says you will know them by their fruits. A good tree can only produce good fruit. An evil tree can only produce evil fruit. What kind of fruit does the Christian church produce?
Right.
Every child molester, every homosexual,
right.
every drug dealer.
That's right.
You're looking at your former drug dealers.
That's right.
You're looking at your former criminals.
Right.
You're looking at your former drug users who actually hurt brothers with some
right.
beards and some braids preaching on the corner, who practiced what they preached and showed us how to serve God and showed us to stay the hell away from Christmas and everything else that our oppressor gave us and actually serve the Lord. And that's why our children don't die from jaywalking.
Right.
That's why my baby doesn't get flashbang.
Right.
That's why my father's not gonna get choked out on the corner.
Right.
Well, you know what, matter of fact, I don't know. He just stopped eating shrimp and pork. He might still be celebrating Christmas, so I can't say that. I'll be trying to deal with him, but you know how it would be, man. Because Christ came to separate us from all this.
Right.
That's what you got to understand. Flip the next couple of pages. Let's get a little bit more into this. Let's get a little bit more into, matter of fact, start right up here. Now, let's go back to where the Romans got it from. Because, like I said, this has roots. This has roots that go all the way back to the Babylonian Empire. Goes back to Nimrod, a African. Read.
The divine child born at the winter solstice was born as a new incarnate.
A new incarnation. Read.
Of the great God. After that God had been cut in pieces.
A great God that was cut in pieces. How mighty was he, huh?
On purpose to revenge his death upon his murderers. Now the great God, cut off in the midst of his power and glory, was symbolized as a huge tree.
Because this was Nimrod. What happened is when he died, they said that his spirit went into the tree, like an evergreen tree. That's why it didn't die in the winter. So they decided to make this rich. They decided to deck it with silver and gold. They decided to make this something worthy of worship. Go ahead.
The Christmas tree, as it has been stated, was generally at Rome a different tree, even a first.
So now, as you went into different societies, they would use different trees. They would use what they had around them. Go ahead.
But the very same idea was implied in the palm tree, was implied in the Christmas fir, for that covertly symbolized the newborn God as Belial birth.
Meaning being reborn. Keep reading, drop down to what's highlighted.
Therefore, the 25th of December, the day that was observed at Rome as the day when the victorious God reappeared on earth and was held at the Italian...
It's basically the Solar Invictus. Go ahead.
Okay. The birthday of the unconquered sun.
Of the unconquered sun, because that's all it is. It's just more sun worship, more harvest worship, because they thought that by doing this, they would have greater harvest. The gods would bless them. Go ahead, but there is only one God.
Right.
Shemaya Sha'ala Yahweh Lahayana wa Yahweh Khan. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one.
That's right.
Read.
Now the Yule log is the dead stock of Nimrod.
And that's another thing. That little log they like to throw in the fireplace, the Yule log or Yule Day. This is where this comes from. Go ahead.
Deified as the sun god, but cut down by his enemies. The Christmas tree is Nimrod.
The Christmas tree is Nimrod, once again, reincarnated, coming back to life. Drop down, keep reading.
The singular practice still kept up in the South on Christmas Eve.
Now this is something else that you need to know. They also had mistletoes in Babylon. Keep going.
Of kissing under the mistletoe.
The mistletoe, meaning a bow is like a branch. That's why you see that little branch they hang above the door. You're supposed to kiss somebody if you're underneath it, some garbage like that, good?
As we have seen, was derived from Babylon.
Once again, even that goes back to Babylon, because that had to do with his son Tammuz, another false idol who was deified and worshipped inside the scriptures, good?
Was a representation of the Messiah, the man, the branch. The mistletoe was regarded as the divine branch, a branch that came from heaven and grew upon a tree that sprang out of the earth.
You hear this nonsense? But once again, We have not fallen victim to fables in the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. That's why we know where all this comes from, and we will never celebrate it because it is against God. And when you do something that is against God, then that means that the Lord is going to be against you.
That's right. When nowadays I work hard on the job, till I come cross still like I'm a criminal. Trying to get caught, it could be your first charge. Like, man, you ain't getting the minimum. It gon' dip, squat, 5 mile run, push, pull, sit on, goddamn, get strong. Looking at my baby, trying to keep them doing wrong. It's too long before they grow. I can't leave them on their own. They killed Daddy like he had a 30-day cake. The news covering up the story for what they say. It took me back to the time we lost Otis. Pretending these crackers, they gon' tell you something bogus. And I'm thinking like, damn, what you tellin' kids? We try to put up a fight, but did we fail the kids? Cause they really got us looking like no damn good. And why success got to cost my manhood?